When Jack Eisenberg was a teenager, sport was the last thing on his mind. In the winter of 1944, he was on the last transport of 5,000 Jews to Buchenwald concentration camp.
2,000 people in a barrack, 3 layers like shelves. You couldn't complain to everybody. There was nobody to turn to. You take it or leave it. Somewhere here, I had my photographs from home, little bundle, and it was taken away in one of these blocks. But you know, I had a little brother, 9. No picture. You know his crime? He was 9 years old. His crime was, he was a Jew. Innocent. A beautiful, a lovely boy. A lovely boy, Schmelke.
Buchenwald wasn't an extermination camp, but the conditions were so bad that 56,000 died from hunger and disease. Jack was placed in Barrack 62 in the Little Camp. Here the conditions were even worse. With a population of over 10,000, it became a place of starvation, filth, and desperate struggles to survive.
Little Camp was the worst. In the 62 barrack, is every morning people died during the night. In the morning you had a squad with the wheelbarrow and took them to this crematorium. The flame was running 24 hours a day. The stench of burnt flesh. Is that humanity? Honestly. It's only after the war that I've been here, to the crematorium. It'll take a long time for the human race to be forgiven. I was here when I was a young boy. I know you'll never forget that you saw a survivor. I know that. Yeah. You must not forget that. It always bothered me. Why? Why? What the Jews did to deserve it. No human being deserved something like that.
Joel comes face to face with Jewish history in the Shoah Museum.
You're taught in education what went on during the wars, but it does upset me, and I'd block things like that from my mind, you know, especially when it's to do with children and persecution, and I try not to think about it. You know, it didn't matter how religious you were. No, you were born Jewish, you were the enemy.
Polish Jews suffered worst of all. Of the 3.5 million population, 90% perished. Jack Eisenberg survived Buchenwald concentration camp only to be sent to a munitions factory in Colditz. His luck ran out in April 1945 when he was one of 600 people who were force-marched to the Jewish ghetto of Terezin, 100 miles to the east.
We didn't march, we shuffled. No food, nothing. We did about 7 miles a day. If you couldn't walk march, you were shot. And we start looking for food. And I find the story, a pea on the floor, dried out. And I am really elated. I found food.
After 2 weeks on his death march, Jack and a handful of survivors arrived in Terezin.
How many started the journey? 600. And arrived 60. That's the story. I knew I'm dying. because I had no more strength left to fight or even to dream.
155,000 men, women and children passed through the Terezin ghetto. Many died of disease and starvation, or were sent to extermination camps. 70 years on, Jack visits a haunting reminder of their devotion to their faith. This hidden prayer room was painted by a German Jew who died at Auschwitz.
You can hear the voices, the screams. Honestly, really, I'm reliving something I missed. I'm a much happier person, believe me or not. Yeah.
Against all odds, he survived the Holocaust. He was flown to Britain with 300 other war orphans in the bomb bay of an RAF bomber. His remarkable moment of liberation was even captured on film.
And the fellow from the crew says, "Don't press that button, because this is the bombing hatch. It won't be bombs, it will be you."
Jack came to Britain penniless. He went on to build a successful luggage business in Manchester.
Chapinder stands for Jack, myself, P-I-N, Pinky, and D-A, David. This all Holocaust survivors, all three. God was good to me, good to my wife, good to my grandchildren. I've got no argument with God.
The Holocaust had robbed Jack of his family and his faith. He'd never had a bar mitzvah as a boy because he was living under Nazi occupation in Poland.
Surviving the war, genocide. I'm not religious anymore. What counts to me, with all due respect, is not religion so much. Goodness of a person.
And that's being, by the way, that's being religious. That's the whole of Judaism.
After waiting for a lifetime, Jack is going to have his bar mitzvah at 85 years old.
Baruch Hu es Adonai HaMvoirach. Baruch Adonai lo ilavuot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai noisen hatoiro.
Amen.
Amen.
Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov.
It's a revenge of the Nazis. They stole it from me. And they thought they got away. They didn't. And what holds the Jews a little bit together is also their history, their suffering.
Yankiv, Mazel Tov.
And welcome to the celebration of Jack's bar mitzvah.
Better late than never, Jack.
I'm quite proud to be a Jew because we have a certain way of living. We are very close to the family. We're quite decent. That's what I'm proud of.
Go on, Jack.